you can connect the dots to.
It is day 129 of the second Trump administration, and there is major news tonight. Just hours ago, a federal court struck down Donald Trump's reciprocal tariffs. Those are the ones he declared back on April 2nd, his so-called Liberation Day. The court said his effort to justify them with broad claims of national emergencies exceeded his legal authority. Can you believe it? The ruling caused stock futures to jump. I'm going to say this to you twice. The Trump policy that was put in place got struck down by the courts, and what did the markets do? Jumped. They were excited about it. This is obviously a major blow to Trump's economic agenda amid the administration has already filed an appeal. Trump is also facing pushback from his number one supporter, you know him, Elon Musk. He has pretty much been opposed to those very tariffs, and now it appears he is opposed to Trump's big, beautiful bill, and this could be driving a wedge between the two men. Musk has complained that the budget proposal would undermine Doge's work, that his cost-cutting team has been treated like Washington, D.C.'s, and I'm quoting him, whipping boy, and he is not too happy about the spending increases either. But earlier today, when the president was asked about Musk's criticism, he didn't completely disagree. Watch this.
We will be negotiating that bill, and I'm not happy about certain aspects of it, but I'm thrilled by other aspects of it. That's the way they go. It's very big. It's the big, beautiful bill. But the beautiful is because of all of the things we have. The biggest thing being, I would say, the level of tax cutting that we're going to be doing.
How are you going to pay for it? House Speaker Mike Johnson, on the other hand, defended the bill, writing this in part, quote, "The House made sure to build on Doge's success. Doge found savings in discretionary spending, such as funding agencies, while our bill secured over $1.6 trillion in savings in mandatory spending, such as Medicaid. Both are historic and take huge steps towards addressing our debt and deficit." Here's an important reminder. That's not true. The Penn-Wharton budget model estimates the House version of this bill, are you listening to me, would increase the deficit by $3.3 trillion over 10 years. All right, let's get smarter with our nightcap panel tonight. David Gura is here, Bloomberg correspondent and host of the Big Take podcast, former Democratic Congressman Max Rose of New York. He's a senior advisor to Vote Vets. And my dear friend Molly Jong-Fast, special correspondent for Vanity Fair and MSNBC contributor, and a new author of a book that I just read while I was out. And I urge you to read it, not because she's my friend, not because I adore her, because the book's incredible. How to Lose Your Mother, a daughter's memoir. It is out next week. All right, David, let's talk about the court. The international trade ruling. What is your take on this?
Well, we'll see what happens here with this appeal, but I followed the arguments as they were made a couple of days ago. And again, as you articulated, the grievance here by a very interesting consortium of 14 Democratic states and a group of small businesses kind of helmed by a conservative group was that the president is using more powers than he's allotted to do all of this. He's been relying on this law from the 1970s to put these tariffs in place. And they've said, effectively, he can't do that. And the argument the states have made is he's putting in place effectively a tax on those states. So that was something this court was sympathetic to. You talk about the market reaction. I think that it infuses into this some semblance of certainty about his policy. What we've lived through over these last couple of weeks is him going back and forth, as you know, on what the tariffs are going to be, what they're not going to be. This doesn't affect all of the ones that he's put in place. It affects the kind of broad-based ones, the reciprocal ones as well. I think that markets are reacting to another branch of government institution pushing back on something the president's doing here. But what I want to stress here is fundamentally, and I've said this all along, Congress could play a big role here doing this. So we look at the courts doing all of this. Historically, it has been the role of Congress to determine what tariff policy, what trade policy is. Here we see the courts kind of stepping up, but fundamentally and historically, it's something that the Congress...
All right, but stay with me for a second, Max. Could this be the president's off-ramp? Right? He's argued for years and years and years, tariffs, tariffs, tariffs. But he knows these tariffs are crushing the markets. He knows these tariffs are crushing business, right? When this ruling happened, a source called me and said, Scott Bessent is somewhere quietly crying tears of joy. I mean, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Could this be, even though the administration is appealing it, could this be Trump's elegant off-ramp that he could say, I wanted to impose the tariffs, this is what I think we should do, but the court stopped me. And in the end, markets go up, businesses like it.
Sure.
That's what Trump actually loves.
Well, I would say his elegant off-ramp would probably be some type of pharmaceutical cocktail to address his unprecedented level of craziness. They're going to appeal this. And time and again, we've seen that the Supreme Court is a fully owned subsidiary now of extremist MAGAism. So I don't think that there's an off-ramp, politically speaking, to the extraordinarily level of economic chaos that this administration and this one man has catalyzed. And when you look at the swing Republican districts that are held in suburban areas throughout the country, it's that level of chaos that they actually detest more than anything else. So I think this is sticking, and I don't think there's any off-ramp to it.
Okay, but Molly, I'm coming to you in a second. But David, I want to come back. These tariffs, the argument was these tariffs were going to pay for all sorts of stuff. They were going to bring in billions and billions of dollars. So if we don't implement the tariffs, whether it's the court's decision or the president backs off, where does the money come to pay for the big, beautiful bill?
I have no good answer for that, other than the fact it's going to add to the debt. No, but he is counting on that, and it gets to the kind of the heart of the matter when it comes to this tariff policy. That's been one motivating factor that the president has cited. Another has been to kind of penalize other countries, to hold them to account for any matter of policy decisions they've made. But you're right to point out the fact that the argument that he made, that Republicans in the House made all along, was this is going to be a big driver of money coming into this country. They continue to talk about that in this kind of fantastic way, citing all of the billions of dollars that have come in thus far. It hasn't. And I think that that's a huge X factor and hugely complicates where this bill goes now when it goes to the Senate.
But you heard in that soundbite right there when Trump said there's things in the bill I don't like, but what I love are the tax cuts, tax cuts, tax cuts. If he's not bringing in billions from the tariffs, if DOJ didn't cut trillions, which the plan was to cut $2 trillion, then how do these tax cuts get paid for?
It's a very good question. But the other thing about this bill, the big, beautiful bill, is this is the purest
we're gonna make a decision.
distillation.
We're going to make a decision.
Yes.
We're done calling it that.
Okay.
We're officially done calling it that.
It is the purest distillation of MAGA, right? It is everything Trump ran on. They have put together a bill. I mean, Mike Johnson serves at the pleasure of Donald Trump. So the idea that Trump doesn't like things in this, he whipped the vote. What doesn't he like? He set this up. And the other thing is, I just want to say, this is a bill that both grows the deficit, cuts food stamps for children, right? There are some states, there are 3 states where children, 25% of all kids on food stamps will be affected, right? It also cuts Medicaid. I mean, it is like this, if it is enacted in this form, it will be a seismic change to the way we live and the services we get from our government.
Then how do Republicans win? Let's say they get this bill passed and it's implemented. How do they win in the midterms? How do they win the White House next time around, given what's in this bill? If everyone voting owns a private prison, well, then guess what? Republicans are going to win forever. But with the exception of that faction, who does this bill serve?
It doesn't serve the majority of Americans. So what you're going to see Republicans very quickly do is start talking about how they're not woke. Remember that argument?
Uh-huh.
And it's not enough. But it's important that Democrats don't lose. So what do I mean by that? First of all, they have to stop stepping all over cultural third rails almost intentionally as if they're trying to lose elections. But secondly, and you see them doing this right now.
Who's they? Republicans or Democrats?
No, Democrats.
All right.
You see them elevating incredibly strong candidates across the country. It looks like 2018 all over again. Many of them are veterans. Many of them have incredible public service records. Everywhere from, Rebecca Bennett in New Jersey, Joanna Mendoza in the Southwest. I mean, it's extraordinary, the candidates that we see right now. And that's how the Democrats are going to win. It's as simple as that. Republicans are out of their damn mind. And that doesn't look good for politics.
I want to go back to the courts because tonight, one of the president's most senior advisors, Stephen Miller, tweeted, "The judicial coup is out of control." How ugly is this administration's war on the courts about to get? Because thus far, to David's original point, Congress has pretty much done bupkis. Yeah. And the courts, if any group, have been the only ones to stand up to Trump and journalists.
Yeah, and I see this case going to the Supreme Court, and I see a world in which the Supreme Court does not rubber stamp Trump. Remember, the people on the side of this case, this tariff case, are Charles Koch, are Leonard Leo. This crew does not mess around, right? And they know how to bring a case in front of the court. And the court has quite a lot of respect and admiration for these two men for any number of dubious reasons. So I'm not convinced that Trump wins in court here. Look, Stephen Miller can say whatever he wants, but at the end of the day, this is all, the legal framework for this was always so suspect. And anyone who read Project 2025 this summer saw that everything was like emergency this, emergency that, and that wouldn't stand up to much scrutiny. But the Trump world didn't think they needed to. But I think on this, they're not going to win.
All right, well, let's